Welcome to Working Dragon Mystic, where we discuss real metaphysical and occult knowledge so that you can manifest real and tangible results in your life. This week, we're going to be talking about what it means and some ways that you can live a balanced life, so stay tuned. Hello. Alright, this week I want to talk about something I've been getting a lot of questions about, and it was actually a suggestion in one of the live streams. What does it mean to live a balanced life, and what are some ways that you can do that? Now, in Dragon Magic, and many other practices actually, it's even brought up a lot in Norse magic. What does this mean, and how can you go about doing it? This is a very important part of magic, and it actually does help. Not only will it actually help you to manage your magic and your energy far better, which will increase your manifestation rates, but it'll also help you manage your life, just your day-to-day life. And that in and of itself is worth its weight in gold. So, what does it mean? Well, this may be a shorter video, and, well, unless I get on one of my rants. We know how I am. I can see y'all now laughing at Drake. That's fine. But by and large, living a balanced life means that you actually take the time to step back and you look at what you're doing on a regular basis. And you try to find those areas where you're spending too much time or where you're not spending enough time. And this can be very, very hard. So what I usually recommend my students to do when it comes to balancing out their life is to actually look at it, and instead of looking at what you're doing, look at it what you're not doing that you want to do. Let's start there. It's often easiest to start habits with ones we want. So I have them actually start there. And this is something I actually personally do myself quite often. In fact, while actually making this video, or getting ready to make this video, I was actually looking over my calendar and how a lot of things have gotten away from me, and I just do not have as much free time as I want. Many of you in the Discord server know I'm not nearly in there as much as I used to be, and I love spending that time in the server with y'all. So I was wondering what had happened. And as well as just certain activities around the house that I've not had the chance to do or the opportunity. Some of which is just simply relaxing. And it honestly got to the point where it seems like that one day off that I forced me to take really is the only day that I have free time. And I actually spend it doing laundry and dishes, and that's not free time. That is not free time, okay? I don't enjoy those things. That's not free time. Now, if I'm doing something that somebody might call work and I'm enjoying it, I might call that free time. Not laundry and dishes, though. So, the first thing I did is I looked at it and said, what would I like to do? What would I like to do? And one of the things that came up is I recently got a video game that has been sitting over there for I don't know how long. And I turned it on for a couple hours one day, played it. Seems like a great game. Seems like a good game. I would actually like to see where it goes, see more about it. I haven't had time to pick it back up, and that bothers me. Also, there's books piling up that I would enjoy reading. I just don't have the reading time I used to have. So, where is my time going? Because we all have the same exact time in every day of every week. There's no magical, mystical time loop. It really comes into how we manage those times. So when it comes to living a balanced life, the first thing I tell people to look at is where's their time going? What are they doing? And for me, it really has been going into work. I have been doing a lot of things trying to get a lot of stuff done. One of those being the rune class. Y'all know we're testing the ability to do a rune class here on the channel in a playlist as opposed to the school to see how that functions. And we're almost to the end of that class, so that's going to be opening up a little bit more time. But of course, I also have the 102 to finish filming. But and that's just kind of how I rationalized where my time was going. But looking at it, and looking at my film schedule, and then looking at my film schedule, say, this time last year even, there was a huge difference. And I was trying to figure out what had happened, and I realized time management is what had happened. There's little things that I would do throughout the day, breaking up my work, that ultimately made my workday take much, much longer than it should. And filming and editing and everything just really has started chewing up massive chunks of my time that it wouldn't if I was just more focused. And I remembered a book I read, 4-Hour Work Week. If you haven't read it, read it. Great book. That can really help you a lot with time management. And I started to reapply that mentality to it. Now, granted, I don't think I'm going to get down to 4 hours a week, but at least applying it. And I found out if I did most of my filming, instead of trying to film, edit, and upload everything in 1 week, if I just filmed, let's say even 2 or 3 videos in a week, and then spent the next week editing those, I would quickly have a nice backlog of some videos up, and I would also start to have a lot more free time to do the things I like to do, the things that bring me a lot of happiness and joy, and really help me relax, which relaxation is important for your health. It really is. Now, don't get me wrong. I love doing this channel for y'all. I absolutely adore it. If I didn't, well, I'm not sure the channel would have continued after its first year test. But this has been so rewarding to be able to meet up with you all and to answer y'all's questions and, to be able to help y'all. So I do enjoy it, but at the same time, the filming and editing, it does get tedious. So it's making those little adjustments that really do matter. But once you figure out what you want to do, you do have to look at where your time's going. And most people will find out they're spending a lot more time in places that they don't think about, whether it be on the internet, on their phone watching videos, or something like that. I know both me and my wife, we can open up an app on our phone and watch a few videos. We're just basically trying to kill time while water boils for tea or while the coffee's making. But somehow we end up falling down a 3 or 4 hour rabbit hole of videos, in which we do end up making coffee. We also tend to end up drinking the coffee and needing to make more. So you need to be mindful of where your time is going. And that mindfulness is a key to self-mastery. You really need to be mindful of how you're spending your time in your day. Most people, and this includes practitioners, just wander through their day at random with no goal, with no mindfulness of where they're going and what they're doing. They just go. They wake up, then they're like a little robot going off. They have no idea what they're doing. If you're truly wanting to become a powerful practitioner, and you're truly wanting to manifest real change in your life, you need to practice mindfulness constantly. And you need to be aware of what you're doing and when you're doing it. Now, if that means you have to set up a schedule that not only it's do this at this time, but that you have a bracket for when you end it. So, for example, if I was to set a time for playing that video game, let's say I wanted to do a 4-hour time frame on that. That's what I'd do. I would actually set an alarm on my phone. We got phones, use those alarms, people. And I would start, and I'd play for 2, 3 hours, 4 hours max. If the alarm goes off, I know wherever I'm at in that game, I need to wrap it up and finish. And that's kind of what I've done with my filming schedule currently. Is I figured out I need to be filming in this time bracket. All my filming needs to be in that bracket. So I need to be focused and mindful on my filming in that bracket, no exceptions. And cut out and block out as many distractions as humanly possible unless it's an emergency. And yes, that does mean that even my time to relax is on my calendar. I know that I have this free time available to do things that I want. Now, that doesn't mean you literally have to put everything you're going to do on your calendar. You can just mark it as free time, or once you get everything you have to do on your calendar, you know what free time you have. Now, some people, if you punch a clock, you know what you punch the clock for. You know when you clock in, you know when you clock out. That is locked in. You have to work around that. You have to balance that. You have to balance work and play to some extent. Now, some people's like, well, I don't work an 8-hour shift. I work 14, 16-hour shifts. Sometimes I have mandatory overtime. I understand that. Believe me, I've been there. And I have had to balance a life around that type of a schedule. It is doable. You still have to do it. You still have to find a way to do it. It is doable. It's harder. Not going to say it's not harder, but it is still doable. And it's even more important when you're punching a clock like that you balance out everything else. The more that you can be mindful about controlling and putting the pieces where you need to, all the better. So, for example, let's take this off just the general mundane and let's look at a metaphysical practice. When I was working mandatory overtime, 16, 18 hours a day, sometimes much longer, I would actually try to do my ritual work. Before I went into work, I'd go to work, do everything I could do, come home, and I would even try to work in a meditation and ritual work afterwards. Then I would shower, or I'd shower and then do the ritual, whichever way would help me, depending on how I felt that day. And once I was done with that, I would fix my dinner, and then I'd probably head to bed, depending on how much time I had left. Now, that's because I was prioritizing my magical practice and development so that I could better myself and get to a point where hopefully I wasn't punching an 18-hour clock. Now, don't get me wrong. I know tradesmen who are electricians and plumbers. They love their 18-hour shifts, but they also tend to get 3-4 days off because they do own their own trade, and that's awesome. I understand that. I would happily punch those long hours again for those days off in that situation. So it's about that balance, but you do have to find those places. You have to make the time for it. And part of that balance is, and this is when people leave off of their schedule the most, sleep. Yes, I said it. You need to actually have a functioning sleep schedule of some kind. Now, for me, depends on what shift I'm on. But if I'm on a day shift, my sleep schedule, usually I'm up by 6 or 7 and I'm in bed by midnight or 1. That's just the hours I try to keep. Anything past 1, but before 7, I'm going to assume I'm going to be asleep. Doesn't always work out that way, but I'm going to assume it. And I do often, many of you know, I don't always sleep that long. Sometimes I'll sleep 4 hours and I'm wired. I'm just wide awake. There's nothing I can do about it. And that's fine. But at least I have that time set aside. Now, some of us run into additional complications. We may have friends or family that we have to take to work. We have to go pick them up. And that can break up your sleep schedule. That makes it difficult. It really does. But you just have to train yourself to get up, get that person to work, get home, and try to get yourself back to bed. Try to avoid as many distractions as possible. At one point, my office computer and everything was in the bedroom, just because of how big it was. And that was really screwing with my sleep. You should not work or do other activities in your bedroom where you sleep. Some exceptions, of course. But by and large, you should reserve that for just sleep. So we moved the office and bedroom and separated them out. And that has drastically helped my sleep. Now, I suffered from insomnia for 10 years at least, I think. And I know it can get hard. So I tried to do all I could to get as much sleep as I could and, work through it. But at the same time, sometimes you just couldn't sleep. There's nothing you could do about it. So because of this, I learned that when I could sleep, I slept. But I also learned if I couldn't sleep, and I knew I wasn't getting to sleep, I tried to make use of that time. I'd get up, I'd do dishes if there were dishes to do, I would read, I would do something in another room that preferably would hopefully make me sleepy or drowsy. And as soon as I felt that drowsiness hit, back to bed I went. This allowed me to be more productive, while at the same time getting me out of the bedroom instead of fighting the insomnia, which actually makes you more frustrated and less likely to sleep. And I balanced it by attempting to do something extra until I got drowsy. This was my norm for many, many years. And slowly but surely, I kicked the problem. And that was a good thing. Now, many of us, we actually tend to massively pile on extras and activities that we enjoy that completely throws our day-to-day life out of whack and out of balance. Whether it be TV shows, whether it be reading, whether it be artwork, whether it be trying to travel to different places, we end up loading our everyday life down with extracurricular activities. We're not resting. We're not relaxing. We have no downtime. And that's going to wind you up tight. And eventually that spring's going to break. You need that downtime to relax. You need that downtime to breathe. You need that downtime to meditate. You really do. And part of living that balanced life is to understand and know where your time's going. And look at yourself. Living a balanced life is very much about looking yourself in the mirror and asking yourself a lot of very harsh and truthful questions. Why am I stressed? Why am I so aggravated all the time? Why do I not have time to do things? And some things you can change. Like if you're just losing 3, 4, 6 hours on YouTube, when all you're meaning to do is watch 1 or 2 videos, there could be a problem there. There could be. Same thing with any other streaming service. If you're going to be spending that time in those locations, try to make it educational. Try to make it beneficial in some way. I do spend a lot of time on YouTube here. If I'm looking for recipes or tricks or whatnot for cooking or even running the smoker, I try to put my YouTube time into something like that. In fact, there's a very good hobby right there that I love. It can be a lot of work because you have to set the smoker up, you have to clean it afterwards and all that. But it's also a really great hobby, and like usually it's my day off on Saturdays. I'll take and I'll fire up the smoker. I'll throw a couple pork shoulders on there, and I will take 16 to 18 hours and slow smoke those pork shoulders. And then, we have a huge ton of pulled pork barbecue to eat on for, the rest of the week. Or we can serve it and share it with friends and neighbors. It's a great hobby that allows me to relax and enjoy. I've always loved working with wood and fire and campfires and stuff like that. It's just something that's very therapeutic and relaxing to me. So taking it over into grilling and running a smoker just makes good sense. It's a great way to relax and prepare dinner. But at the same time, I know that smoker will run almost by itself for that 16 hours. I only have to go check it every 2-3 hours once I got its temperature locked in. And actually, for a long smoke, I can load the fuel up and let it run 14 to 12 hours without having to even check it, in which time I can be doing other things. And I do those other things, whether it be just hanging out, reading, which honestly, catching up with my reading while running the smoker is one of my favorite things to do, because it's easy to just bookmark my page and go check the smoker when I need to. But I also do other things, spend time with my wife, relax, work out. I'll even make sure I'm working out. And your health Oh dear, we need to talk about that one. Even I don't like to talk about this one. But your health is indeed a very important part of a balanced life. Now, for some reason, people have become absolutely terrified to discuss health. And some of it might be the body positivity movement. Might be. But I think that's an scapegoat. I really do. Because look, you are who you are. If you're happy with who you are, hey, more power to you. Keep doing it. But you should also look at your health. Now, that's not to say every body type is healthy. That's not to say every person's healthy at the same weight. They're not. To look at me, and if you watch this channel, last year I put weight on. Okay, I didn't see it coming until I was editing videos and I went back and watched an older one and I saw it. Crap. Okay? My blood work doesn't show it. It does not. Blood work and everything else, I'm actually pretty healthy. Minus one area where I already knew was a problem, but it's actually improving. It's still not fixed, but it's still a problem. And that's a fatty liver. But that comes from a history of other things, mainly just poor diet. But that was there and still there. But overall, my blood work's showing I'm healthy. Okay, great. However, personal opinion, personal thing for me, I'm not happy with where I'm at. So, I'm going to make those changes. I'm going to work on that. I'm going to get some of the weight off. I'm going to get back down to where I was, if not better. Because there are things I want to do to improve myself. And that is part of a balanced life. You need to pay attention to what you're eating and what you're doing in your day-to-day. And you need to ask yourself if those are affecting you. Your diet can actually affect your hormones, your mental state, your mental clarity, even your sleep habits. Now, I'm not saying this is for everyone, but if I eat ketogenic, which is very low carb, but it does focus on real whole foods, that's when my insomnia went away. I started eating keto for my fatty liver, and my insomnia went away. And anytime that I eat carbs, I don't sleep good. I just do not. So that is something I've noticed about me. I know a lot of people don't have that problem, but for me it's a thing. So it is something I have to focus on in order to live that balanced life. Now, what happened with my weight loss though, last year I was unable to get out, go hiking, go camping, do all the things that normally keep me active. And I pretty much spent the whole year right here at my desk. On my tuchus, and it piled up around the belt. That's what happened. I know this. And my job has allowed a lot of changes to occur that I am a lot more sedentary. I'm used to doing more physical labor jobs, and that's where a lot of my physical activity would go into, and I never think about it. Me and Odin, however, are now working to restore that balance of that lost physical activity by pushing me into a workout routine and building me back up. And keeping my diet clean from carbohydrates, because anytime I eat carbohydrates, I'm just sapped of energy and I feel miserable. You'd think I'd learned my lesson, but I'm thick. I'm stubborn, people. Y'all know that. Y'all watch the live streams, you've heard the stories. I'm stubborn. But those are things, and it's going to be different for everyone. That's one reason a balanced life is hard, because you have to balance your life. There is no single structure that says this is a balanced life. But you will know when you hit it, because your week-to-week stride, for the most part, I'd say 80% of the time, you're going to be doing all right. You will be doing all right. You're not going to have a lot to complain about. You ain't going to be doing a lot of bitching and moaning. But if it goes from, if that 80-20, because you will have 20%, crap pops up, life happens, and that's a good thing. As a practitioner, you know when life happens, when things get hard, that's an opportunity to grow. That's an opportunity to overcome. And you should look forward to those. But there's a difference in looking forward to a 20% of growth that could occur and pop up, and living in 80% of a crap show. I don't want to do it. I've lived in those crap shows. Actually, I've lived in a 98% crap show, but no one wants to do that. So if you're noticing that fatigue, if you're noticing that stress, step back, examine it, and start listing out what are requirements. Your job's a requirement. Put that in there. And then try to figure out what time you have available, and figure out where it's going. You may have to keep a journal. You may have to log it. You may actually sit down on YouTube think, I'm going to watch 2 videos. You write the time down. Well, when you get off YouTube, write the time down. You'll quickly see your time is disappearing in different places, and you can calculate and add that up. And you will be amazed where your time's going. Now, there is no right or wrong on how to balance this, because if you're happy, if you're healthy, if you're living the best life and being the best you can be, ain't nobody got no right to tell you otherwise. It's that simple. That's why I say every person has to balance their life differently from one another. There is no one singular thing. But when something's out of whack and you're stressed all the time or exhausted all the time, take a step back. Look at it. Figure out what you can balance. Figure out what it is that's bothering you. Figure out where you can readjust your time. I don't talk about it much on this channel. It's been brought up a time or two in the live streams. But I used to play D&D a lot when I was younger. Hadn't got a chance to play in a while. Friend asked me to join their game. And now I have a online group that I can go hang out with, laugh, and act like a moron. And that 3-hour period of game time, that's so valuable to me. In fact, many of you know, I was fighting a prolonged cough for a while. I think that game might have helped me with my cough just because of how much I laughed. Do not overestimate the value of a good, deep, hearty belly laugh from hanging out with your friends or watching something funny on TV. Sometimes that can be the absolute best medicine. It really can. It is true. Eating healthy, drinking your water, those kinds of things, they can help. They can. But at the same time, sometimes you just need to sit down and have a pizza, don't you? Everyone has a different balance. And I really wish I could sit here and give you a ABC all the way through to balance out your life. But it's really about being mindful. It's about being observant. It's about being honest. And those are things that are very, very hard in our modern culture. We don't want to observe. We don't want to be mindful of what we're doing. We want to just check out and go on autopilot. And we really don't want to be honest. We really don't. In fact, I think honesty is possibly one of the hardest things. And I don't mean like we lie to our friends. No, the person we lie to most in modern society is ourselves. Anybody who talks about not having money for groceries, almost every person who tells me this, I ask them, how many do they go to Starbucks or do they go to a coffee shop? Well, yeah. What do you get? And they tell me. And I was like, well, how often do you get that? They're getting 3 coffees a day. These coffees cost $5 a pop. That's $15 a day. You could buy your groceries for what they're spending on these coffees. I don't spend that much on coffee. I don't. I get, I buy coffee by the pound at roasters and whatnot. I don't, say, many of you know my favorites, especially you in Discord, but those pounds of coffee I buy are excessively cheaper than if I was to go to Starbucks all the time. That's why you won't see me at Starbucks most of the time. When we go, it's a treat. It is a treat. And that's when and if we go. So you have to balance those things out. And that includes your funds. Where are you spending your money? Where are you taking it? And I know this doesn't sound very metaphysical, but this is all part of self-mastery and self-knowledge. You need to know what you're doing, why you're doing it, and where your resources are going. Your resources are a part of your magical life. And balancing your lifestyle, balancing where you are in your life with the resources you have now is very important for balancing that life, living a magical life, and manifesting it so you can push yourself into a better position. Okay, I know this is definitely off kilter from the normal videos I do. I hope this has helped to answer the question somewhat. Clearly it was not a short video. Okay, you got me. I did it again. I apologize. Anyways, drop a comment below. Smash that like button. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. And in the comments below, tell me, when you step back, when you look at your life, where are some areas that you could try to rebalance and make more time for you to relax or to do the things you need to get done? Leave some comments below on what you found that you can do. There is no right or wrong about this. And everyone, be nice about it. Everyone's balancing things are going to be different. They may actually add something that you find to be unproductive, but for them it actually is a very productive thing. So be nice about that. I look forward to reading them. And until next time, I'm Drake. This has been Working Dragon Mystic. Take it easy. Bye-bye.